Welcome to Between the Covers, the mother daughter book club, where we take romance fantasy to a whole new level. I'm Shirley, and Dawn's not here today. She's out sick still. So today we're reading chapters 4 and 5 of The Dark Prince by Christine Feehan. But first, let's remind you where we left off in chapter 3. We left off with Raven taking a walk and a picnic lunch to go on a hike and noticing that there had been a murder. She knew there had been a murder. She'd seen it in the eyes of the visitors that had visited Mikhail while she was at the house. But no one was talking about it. No one was mentioning it. No one seemed apprehensive. And she had to defend herself to Margaret Summers and Jacob. All right, let's get into chapter 4. Chapter 4. Mikhail stirred, allowing his senses to flare out and scan his surroundings. He lay in shallow earth, undisturbed. No human had come near his lair, and it was less than an hour to sunset. He burst from the earth into the cold, damp cellar. Even as he showered, adopting the human way to cleanliness, although it was unnecessary, his mind reached out to touch Ravens. She was dozing in the mountains, unprotected. With the darkness gathering, he frowned. The woman had no idea of safety measures. He had an urge to shake her. Yet more than that, he wanted to gather her up and hold her forever safe in his arms. He made his way through the setting sun, climbing the mountain trails with the speed of his kind. The sun touched his skin, warmed his coldness, made him alive. The specially constructed dark glasses protected his ultra-sensitive eyes, yet he still felt a pinprick of unease, as if 1,000 needles were wanting to stab at his eyes. As he approached the rock where Raven slept, he caught the scent of another male. Rand. Mikhail bared his teeth. The sun dipped low beneath the edge of the mountain, cast a dark shadow across the rolling hills, and bathed the forest in murky secrets. Mikhail moved out into the open, his arms held out from his sides, his body a fluid combination of power and coordination. He was pure menace, a stalking demon, silent and lethal. Rand had his back to him, approaching the woman on the rock. Sensing the power in the air, he spun around, his handsome features grief-stricken and ravaged. Mikhail. His voice cracked, his eyes dropped. I know you can never forgive me. You knew I was not a true life mate to Noelle. She would not let me go. She threatened to kill herself if I left her. If I attempted to find another. Like a coward, I remained with her. Why do I find you crouched over my woman? Mikhail snarled, fury rising until the bloodlust coiled in him like a living thing. Rand's excuses sickened him. True though they might be, if Noelle had threatened to walk into the sun, the matter should have been brought before him. Mikhail had power enough to stop Noelle from her destructive behavior. Rand knew that Mikhail was their prince, their leader, and although he had not shared blood with Rand, he could still read the male's perverse pleasure in his sick relationship with Noelle, his dominance over her, and her obsession. Behind them, Raven stirred, sat up, and shoved at her hair from long habit. She looked drowsy, sexy, a siren waiting for her lover. Rand had turned his head to look at her, and there was something sly and crafty in his expression. She felt Mikhail's instant warning to be silent, Rand's unrestrained grief, his jealousy, and his dislike of Mikhail, the thick tension between the two men. Baron and Jacques told me this woman was under your protection. I could not sleep and knew she was without safeguards. I had to do something, or I would have chosen to join Noelle. There was a plea for understanding, if not for forgiveness. Yet Raven was unconvinced that Rand meant anything he said. She didn't know why, because his sorrow was real. Perhaps he was desperate for Mikhail's respect and knew he would not get it. Then I'm in your debt, Mikhail said formally, working at controlling his loathing of a man who would leave a woman unprotected who had just given birth to a child so he could return and deliberately torment her with another woman's scent on him. Raven slid from her perch, a small, fragile woman with compassion in her enormous blue eyes. I'm truly sorry for your loss, she murmured softly, careful to keep her distance. This man was the murder victim's husband. His guilt and grief crawled through her body with torturous intent. Yet she worried for Mikhail. Something was not right with Rand. He was twisted inside. Not evil, yet not completely right. Thank you, Rand said tersely, brushing aside her sympathy. He turned toward the prince. I need my child, Mikhail. You need the healing earth, Mikhail disagreed, calmly, implacable in his decision, merciless in his resolve. He would not turn over a precious, helpless baby to this male in his present state of mind. Raven's stomach knotted, twisted, and pain went through her heart at the cruelty in those words. She only partly understood what Mikhail's decree meant. This man, grieving for his murdered wife, was being deprived of his child, accepting Mikhail's word as absolute law. She felt his pain as if it were her own, yet on some level she couldn't help agreeing with Mikhail's decision. Please, Mikhail, I love Noelle. Instinctively, Raven knew Rand was not pleading for his child. Fury lent darkness to Mikhail's features, cruelty to his mouth, a red glint to his eyes. Do not speak of love to me, Rand. Go to the earth and heal. I will find this assassin and avenge my sister. No longer will I be swayed by sentiment. If I had not listened to her pleadings, she would be alive today. I cannot sleep. It is my right to hunt. Rand sounded defiant, sulky, like a child who wanted respect and equality, yet knew it would never come. A flicker of impatience, of menace, crossed Mikhail's brooding features. Then I will command you and give you the healing rest your body and mind require. As much as you would want to hunt the assassins, you are grief-stricken and bound to make mistakes. His voice was soft and neutral as ever. If it hadn't been for the fury burning in his black eyes, Raven would have thought him gentle and caring toward the man. We cannot afford to lose you, Rand. His voice softened to velvet, enticed, commanded. You will sleep, Rand. You will go to Eric and have him prepare you, guard you. You will return when you are no longer a threat to yourself or others. Raven was shocked and alarmed at the absolute power in his voice, the power he wielded as if it were his due. Mikhail's voice alone could produce a hypnotic trance. No one questioned his authority, even over so grave a decision as keeping a child. She bit at her lip, confused over her feelings. He was right about the baby. She could sense something was wrong in Rand, yet that a grown man would obey Mikhail's order, had to obey his orders, frightened her. No one should have such a voice, such a gift, something so strong it could be misused, could easily corrupt the one who wielded it. They stood, regarding each other in the gathering darkness. Once Rand left them, Raven could feel the weight of Mikhail's displeasure pressing down on her. She lifted her chin defiantly. He moved closer, gliding unbelievably fast, his fingers finding her throat, as if he might strangle her. You will never repeat this foolhardy act again. She blinked up at him. Don't try to intimidate me, Mikhail. It won't work. No one tells me what to do or where I can go. His fingers slipped to her wrists, tightened, threatened to crush her fragile bones. I will not tolerate any foolishness that might put your life in jeopardy. We have lost one of our women already. I will not lose you. His sister, he had said. Compassion warred with self-preservation. Most of this confrontation was because he was afraid for her. Mikhail, you cannot put me in a box or keep me on a shelf, she said as gently as she could. I will not argue over your safety. Earlier, you were alone with a man who thought of forcibly taking you. Any wild animal could have attacked you. And if you had not been under my protection, in his present state, Rand might have harmed you. None of those things happened, Mikhail. In spite of herself, she touched his jaw with gentle, placating fingers, a tender caress. You have enough to worry about, enough responsibilities without adding me to them. I can help you. You know I'm capable. I've done it before. He tugged at her wrist so that she lost her balance and fell against his hard strength. You are going to make me crazy, Raven. His arms came up, pinning her soft, slender form against him. His voice dropped to a drawling caress. Mesmerizing. Pure black magic. You're the one person I long to protect, yet you will not obey. You insist on independence. All others lean on my strength, yet you seek to help me, to shoulder my duties. He lowered his mouth to hers. There was that curious shifting of the ground beneath her feet, the crackle of electricity in the air around them. Flames licked over her skin, heated her blood, Colors whirled and danced in her head. His mouth claimed hers, aggressive, male, totally dominating, sweeping all thoughts of resistance aside. She opened her mouth to him, allowing his probing exploration, his sweet, hot assault. Her hands found the broadness of his shoulders, crept up the circle of his back. Her body felt pliant, boneless, like hot silk. Mikhail wanted to press her to the soft ground and tear the offending clothes from her body, to make her irrevocably his. There was far too much innocence in the taste of her. No one had asked to share the weight of his countless burdens. No one until this little slender slip of a mortal had even thought of the price he continually paid. A human. She had the courage to stand up to him, and he could do no other than respect her for it. He closed his eyes, savoring the feel of her body against his. The fact that he could want her with such intensity. He held her, wanting her, needing her, burning for her, not even understanding how such a firestorm could consume him. Reluctantly, he lifted his head, his body raging at him. "Let's go home, Raven." His voice was pure seduction. A slow smile curved her soft mouth. "I don't think it's safe. You're the kind of man my mother warned me about." He kept his arm possessively around her shoulders, shackling her to him. Mikhail had no intention of allowing her to leave his side again. His body urged her in the direction he wanted. They walked together in companionable silence. "Jacob wasn't going to hurt me," she denied suddenly. "I would have known." "You were not touching him, little one, and it was lucky for him." "He's certainly capable of violence, and it's always hard to miss violence." She flashed him a mischievous smile. "It clings to you like a second skin." He tugged at her thick braid in retaliation for her teasing. "I want you to come stay in my home, at least until we find and dispose of the assassins." Raven walked several steps in silence. He had said "we," as if they were a team. That pleased her. "You know, Mikhail, it was the strangest thing today. Not one person at the inn or in the village seemed to know of the murder." His finger flicked along her delicate cheekbone. "And you said nothing?" She flashed him a quarreling glance from under her long lashes. "Of course not. Gossiping is not my form of entertainment." Noelle died cruelly, senselessly. She was Rand's life mate. "You used that term before. What does it mean?" "It's like a wife or a husband, only more," he explained. "Noelle had given birth to a child only 2 months ago. She was my responsibility. Noelle is not food for gossip. We will find her killer ourselves." "Don't you think if there's a serial killer loose in so small a village, the people have a right to know?" Mikhail chose his words carefully. "The Romanians are not in any danger. And this is not the work of one individual. The assassins wish to stomp out our race. True Carpathians are almost extinct. We have bitter enemies who would see us all dead." "Why?" Mikhail shrugged. "We're different. We have certain gifts, talents. People are afraid of what is different. You should know that." "Maybe I have Carpathian blood in me. A diluted version," Raven said, with a trace of wistfulness. It was nice to think she had an ancestor with the same gift. His heart went out to her. Her life must have been terribly lonely. Mikhail wanted to wrap her up safe in his arms, sheltered from life's unpleasantness. His was a self-imposed isolation. Raven had no choice. Our petroleum and mineral rights in a country where everything is property of the state, where others have very little, could be cause for concern or jealousy. I am the law to my people. I deal with the threats to our position and our lives. It was my poor judgment that placed Noel in danger, and it is my duty to hunt her killers and bring our justice to them. Why haven't you called the local authorities? She was struggling to understand, feeling her way carefully. I'm the sole authority to my people. I am the law. Alone? I have others who hunt, many in fact, but it is at my command. I hold the sole responsibility in all decisions. Judge, jury, and executioner? She guessed, holding her breath for the answer. Her senses couldn't lie. She would have felt the taint of evil in him, no matter how good a shield he had constructed. No one could be so good that they never once slipped up. She didn't realize she had stopped walking until his hands ran up and down her arms, warming her shivering body. Now, you fear me, he said softly, wearily, as if she hurt him. And it did hurt. He wanted her to be afraid of him, had deliberately provoked her fear. Yet now, his goal achieved, it wasn't at all what he wanted. His voice tugged at her heartstrings. I don't fear you, Mikhail, she denied gently, tipping her face up to study his in the moonlight. I fear for you. So much power leads to corruption. So much responsibility leads to destruction. You make life and death decisions that only God should make. His hand caressed her silken hair, moving to trace the fullness of her lower lip. Her large eyes were enormous in her small face, her feelings masked in his memorizing gaze. There was concern, compassion, the beginnings of love and a sweet, sweet innocence that shook him to his very core. She worried for him, worried as no one else had ever done. Mikhail groaned aloud, turning away from her for self-preservation, for his honor. She had no idea what she was offering to one such as him. He knew he wasn't strong enough to resist it, and he loathed himself for his selfishness. Mikhail, she touched his arm, sending flames licking along his skin, heating his blood. He hadn't fed, and the combination of love, lust, and hunger was explosive, heady, and very, very dangerous. How could he not love her when he was in her mind, reading her thoughts, knowing her intimately? She was light to his darkness, his other half, forbidden though it might be, mistake of nature probably. He could not help loving her. Let me help you. Share this terrible thing with me. Don't cut yourself off from me. Just the touch of her hand, the concern in her eyes, the purity and truth in her voice brought out an unfamiliar softness in him. He dragged her to him, all too aware of the urgent demands of his body, the aching need intense, the fire in his blood that refused to be squelched. With a low animal growl, he lifted her, whispered a soft command to her, and moved with all the speed of which he was capable. Raven blinked and found herself in the warmth of Mikhail's library, with the fire throwing shadow on the wall. Unsure how she'd gotten there, she didn't remember walking there. Yet there they were, within the walls of his home. Mikhail's shirt was open, exposing the heavy muscles of his chest. His black eyes were steady on her face, watching her with a stillness, a watchfulness, reminiscent of a predator. He made no attempt to hide his desire for her. I will give you one last chance, little one, he spoke, the words in a harsh, hoarse voice, as if they tore painfully at his throat. I will find the strength to let you go if you say it. Now. Right now. The length of the room separated them. The air stilled. If she lived to be 100, that moment would be etched forever in her mind. He stood waiting for her decision, to share herself with him or damn him to eternal isolation. His head was held up proudly, his body fiercely hard, aggressively male, his eyes burning with hunger. He drove every sane thought from her head. If she condemned him, wasn't she condemning herself to the same fate? Someone needed to love this man, care for him, just a little. And how could he continue so alone? He waited. No compulsion, no seduction, just his eyes, his need, his total isolation from the rest of the world. Others relied on his strengths, demanded his skills, yet they didn't show him affection, didn't thank him for his unceasing vigilance. She could sate his hunger where no other could. She knew it instinctively. There would be no other woman for him. He wanted her. He needed her. She could not walk away from him. Take off your sweater, he said it softly. There was no other path for him now. He had read the decision in her eyes, in the soft trembling of her mouth. She stepped back, her blue eyes widening. Very slowly, almost reluctantly, she pulled off the sweater, as if somewhere deep inside she knew she was giving him more than her innocence. She knew she was giving him her life. The shirt. Her tongue touched her lips, moistened the satin finish. The answering jolt in his body was savage, primitive. As she drew off the turtleneck, His hands went to the bottom of his pants. The fabric was stretched taut and confining, hurting him. He was careful to use the human form of disrobing, not wanting to frighten her any further. Her bare skin gleamed in the firelight. The shadows brushed the contours of her body. Her rib cage was narrow, her waist small, emphasizing the generous fullness of her breasts. The man in him inhaled sharply, raged with need. The beast in him roared for release. Mikhail dropped his shirt to the floor, no longer able to stand the feel of the material against his ultra-sensitive skin. A sound started deep in his throat. Animal, feral, a fierce, savage clang. Outside, the wind began to rise, and dark, ominous clouds rolled across the moon. He kicked aside human garments, exposing his body, chiseled muscle, and burning need. Her throat worked convulsively as she slid the lacy scraps of her bra loose, let the material slide to the floor. Her breasts thrust invitingly, nipples hard and erotic. He took the length of the room in a single fluid leap, uncaring for later explanations. Age-old instinct was taking over. He ripped the offensive jeans from her body with a single slash and tossed them aside. Raven cried out, her blue eyes going smoky with fear at his intensity. Mikhail claimed her with a touch, stroking his hands over her body, committing every line to memory. "Do not fear my hunger, little one," he whispered softly. "I would never hurt you. It would be an impossibility for me to do such a thing." Her bones were small, delicate, her skin hot silk. The mass of her hair came loose with his marauding fingers, brushing the hard length of him, sending fiery arrows piercing his groin. His body tightened, raged. God, he needed her so much, so much. His hand closed over the nape of her neck in an unbreakable grip, his thumb tipping back her head to expose her throat and lift her breast to him. His hand moved slowly, tracing the swell of her breast, resting for a moment on his mark on her neck, so that it burned and throbbed, returned to cup the velvet softness. He traced every line of her ribs, feeding his hunger, soothing her fears. Mikhail trailed his fingers over her flat stomach and the ridge of her hip bones, to rest in the triangle of silky curls at the junction of her legs. She had felt his touch before, but this was 1,000 times more potent. His hand created desperate need, a sensation of drowning in a world of pure feeling, forever mine. She heard Mikhail's whisper, something low in his own language, and he took her to the floor in front of the fire. His body was so aggressive, trapping hers against the wood floor, that for a moment she had the impression of a wild animal forcing its mate into submission. Mikhail had not realized until that moment just how close to turning he really was. The emotions, the passion, and lust were swirling together until he feared for both of them. The light from the flames cast a demonic shadow over him. He looked huge, invincible, a dangerous animal as he crouched over her. Mikhail, she said his name softly, reaching out to ease the lines in his contorted features, needing him to go slower. He caught and pinned both her wrists in one hand, stretched her arms above her head, and held her there. I need your trust, little one. His voice was a combination of a hoarse demand and black velvet magic. Give it to me. Please give it to me. She was afraid, so vulnerable, stretched out like a pagan sacrifice, like an offering to a long dead god. His eyes moved over her, hot, glowing, burning her skin everywhere his gaze touched. Raven lay quiet beneath his merciless strength, sensing his implacable resolve, aware of some terrible struggle within him. Her blue gaze drifted over the lines etched in his face, his mouth so sensual, capable of such cruelty, his eyes burning with such fierce need. Raven moved her body, testing his strength, knowing it would be impossible to stop him. She feared their joining because she was unsure of herself, of what to expect, but she believed in him. The feel of her soft, exposed body writhing beneath his only inflamed him more. Mikhail groaned her name, his hand sliding up her thigh, finding her heated core. Trust me, Raven. I need your trust. His fingers sought velvet, probed, claimed, produced a rush of hot liquid. He bent his head to taste her skin, the texture, the scent of her. She cried out softly when his hot mouth found her breast, when his fingers probed deeper in her center. Her body rippled with pleasure. He moved lower, tracing the earlier path of his hands with his tongue. With every stroke, his body tightened, his heart opened, and the caged beast became stronger. A mate. His. He inhaled her scent deeply, drawing her into the very essence of his body. His tongue slid across her slowly, a long caress. She moved again, still uncertain, but subsided when he raised his head and looked at her with stark possession burning in his eyes. Deliberately, he pushed her knees apart, exposing her vulnerability to him. His eyes holding hers in warning, he lowered his head and drank. Somewhere deep inside, Mikhail recognized that she was too innocent for this particular brand of wild lovemaking, but he was determined that she would know pleasure from their union. Pleasure he gave her, not some hypnotic suggestion. He waited too long for a mate. endless centuries of hunger and darkness and total desolation. He could not be gentle and considerate when his entire being was demanding that she belong to him totally for all time. He knew her trust was everything. Her faith in him would be her safeguard. Her body convulsed. She cried out. Mikhail dragged himself over her, savoring the feel of her skin, her softness, how petite she was. Every detail, no matter how small, was imprinted on his mind, became part of the savage pleasure in which he was indulging. He released her wrists, bent to kiss her mouth, her eyes. You are so beautiful, Raven. Belong to me. Belong only to me. He was pressing against her, his body still, corded muscle, unbelievably strong, trembling with his need for her. There could be no one else, Mikhail, she answered softly, her fingers soothing on his burning skin. She smoothed the lines of deep despair from his face, reveled in the feel of his hair in her palms. I do trust you. Only you. Mikhail caught her small hips in his hands. I will be as gentle as I can, little one. Do not close your eyes. Stay with me. She was hot liquid, ready for him, but as he eased his hard length into her, he felt her protective barrier. She gasped, stiffened. Kyle, it was real alarm in her voice. Just for a moment, little one, and then I will take you to the heavens. He waited for her consent, waited, and burned in agony. Her blue eyes shimmered as she looked up at him with wondrous trust. No one, his kind or hers, down through the centuries, had ever looked at him the way she was looking at him now. Mikhail surged forward, buried himself in her tight, fiery sheath. She moaned softly, and he bent his head to find her mouth, to erase the pain with his tongue. He held himself still, felt their combined heartbeats, the blood singing in their veins, her body adjusting to accommodate his. He kissed her gently, tenderly, opening his mind as much as he dared, wanting to share himself with her. His love was wild, obsessive, protective, certainly not given easily, but given completely to her. He moved in, slowly and carefully at first, judging her reaction by her expressive face. Mikhail's body's demands began to assert themselves. Fire licked along his skin, roaring in his belly. His muscles contracted, flexed, little drops of perspiration beading on his skin. He dragged her closer, claiming her for his own, his body burying itself in hers over and over, intent on sating an insatiable hunger. Raven's hands moved to his chest, fluttered there as if in protest. He growled a warning, bent his dark head to the spot over her left breast. Soft velvet skin, a fiery hot sheath. He burned, drove harder, seeking relief in the only way he could. They were one. She was his other half. She moved again, shifted away from him, a breathless, inarticulate cry, voicing her fear of the rippling pleasure consuming her. He growled again, the animal protesting, sinking his strong teeth into the hollow of her shoulder, pinning her to the library floor. A fire built into a conflagration, turbulent, out of control. Thunder cracked, shaking the house as bolt after bolt of lightning struck the ground. He roared, a cry to the heavens as he took her with him beyond the earth. It went on, pain edging pleasure, needing more and more. His body's seed spilling triggered a ravenous, sensual hunger, the beast in him totally aroused. Mikhail's mouth slid from her shoulder, traced the path along her throat to find the steady beat of her heart. Beneath her full, inviting breast, his tongue stroked her hardened nipple, returned to trace the swell of her breast once, twice. His teeth sank deep and he fed, his body taking hers again, hot and fast, insatiable in its sexual frenzy. The taste of her was sweet and clean and very addicting. He craved more and more, his body building power and strength, driving harder and harder, burying himself deeply in her, pushing her toward another shattering release. Raven struggled with herself, not recognizing Mikhail in the beast whose emotions were pure sensual hunger and ravenous appetite. Her body responded to him, seemingly endless in its need for his. His mouth burned and tortured her skin, fed an endless, spiraling climax. She could feel herself weakening, a curious euphoria stealing over her, languid and sexy. She cradled his head to her, giving herself to his terrible hunger as his body convulsed over and over. It was her acceptance that brought him back to sanity. This woman was not in a trance. She was offering herself freely because she felt his raging need, because she trusted him to stop before he hurt her, before he killed her. Mikhail's tongue lapped across her breast, closed the wound. He lifted his head, his dark eyes still glowing with the beast, the taste of her in his mouth. On his lips, he swore softly, bitterly, his self-loathing total. She was under his protection. He had never hated himself or his kind more. She had freely given of herself and he had taken selfishly. The beast in him was so strong he had given in to the ecstasy of uniting with one's life mate. He gathered her limp body to him, cradled her in his arms. You will not die, Raven. He was furious with himself. Had he done this on purpose? In some dark corner of his mind, had he wanted this to happen? He would try to find the answer to the question at a later date. Right now, she needed blood, and she needed it fast. Stay with me, little one. I remained in this world because of you. You will have to be strong for the both of us. Can you hear me, Raven? Do not leave me. I can make you happy. I know I can. He slashed the burning wound across his chest. He pressed her mouth to the dark crimson stain pouring freely from the slash. You will drink. Obey me in this. He knew better than to have her drink directly from his flesh, but he needed to hold her, needed to feel her soft mouth against his skin, taking his very essence, his life's blood, into her starving body. Her obedience was reluctant, her body threatening to reject his life-giving fluid. She gagged, tried to turn her head away. Ruthlessly, he clamped her to him. You will live, little one. Drink deeply. Her will was incredibly strong. Even his people did not require so much effort to force obedience. Of course, his people trusted in him, wanted to obey, although Raven was unaware of what he was forcing on her. Some deep sense of self-preservation fought his commands. It didn't matter. His will would prevail. It always prevailed. Mikhail carried her to his sleeping chamber. He crushed sweet healing herbs around the bed, covered her small, still form. He placed her in a deep sleep. In an hour he would make her drink again. He stood for a moment, staring down at her, feeling the need to cry. She looked so beautiful, a rare, precious treasure he had treated cruelly. Even he should have guarded her against the beast in him. Carpathians were not human. Their love-making was intensely wild. Raven was young, inexperienced, a human. He had not been able to keep his newly acquired emotions under control in the heat of passion. With trembling fingers, he touched her face. A light caress, then bent to kiss her soft mouth. With an oath, he spun around and left the room. The safeguards were the strongest he knew, locking her in. Everyone and everything out. The storm raged outside, as furious and turbulent as his soul. He took 3 running steps and launched himself into the sky, hurtling toward the village. The winds whirled and screamed around him. The house he sought was no more than a small shack. He stood at the door, his face a mask of torment. Edgar Hummer opened the door silently, stood aside and allowed him entrance. Mikhail. The voice was gentle. Edgar Hummer was 83 years old. Most of his years had been spent in the service of the Lord. He considered himself deeply privileged to be counted among Mikhail Dobrinsky's few real friends. Mikhail filled the small room with his presence, his power. He was agitated, deeply disturbed. He paced restlessly, the storm outside increasing in fury, in strength. Edgar settled himself in his chair, lit his pipe, and waited. He had never seen Mikhail anything but completely calm, without emotion. This was a dangerous man, a man Edgar had never even glimpsed. Mikhail slammed a fist against the rock fireplace, creating a fine network of lines across the stones. I nearly killed a woman tonight. He confessed it harshly, his dark eyes wounded. You told me God made us for a purpose, that we were created by Him. I am more beast than man, Edgar, and I cannot continue to delude myself. I would seek eternal rest, but even that is denied me. Assassins stalk my people, have no right to leave them until I know they are protected. Now my woman is in danger, not only from me, but from my enemies. Edgar puffed on his pipe calmly. You said, my woman. You love this woman? Mikhail waved a dismissing hand. She's mine. It was a statement, a decree. How could he say love? It was an insipid word for what he felt. She was purity, goodness, compassion, the other half of his soul, light to his darkness, everything that he was not. Edgar nodded. My friend, you're in love with her. Mikhail scowled darkly. I need, I hunger, I want. That is my life. He said it in torment, as if he could make it true. Then why do you feel such pain, Mikhail? You wanted her. Maybe you needed her. I presume you took her. You hungered. I presume you fed. Why should you feel pain? You know it is wrong to take the blood of women from whom we feel other appetites. You have said that you have not felt sexual need in centuries, that you cannot feel at all. Edgar reminded him softly. I feel for her, Mikhail confessed, his dark eyes alive with pain. I want her every moment of the day. I need her. God, I have to have her. Not only her body, but also her blood. I'm addicted to the taste of her. I crave her, all of her, yet it is forbidden. But you took her blood and body anyway, knowing it was wrong. I almost killed her. Mikhail brushed his hand over his face as if he could wipe out the things he had done. But you didn't kill her. She still lives. She cannot be the first time you fed so deeply. Did the others cause you pain? Mikhail turned away. You do not understand. It was the way it happened. What I did afterward. I feared it from the moment I first heard her voice. If it had never happened before, why did you fear it? Mikhail hung his head, his fingers curling into fists. Because I wanted her. I could not bear to give her up. I wanted her to know me, know the worst, see all of me. I wanted to bind her to me so that she could never leave my side. She's human? Yes, she has abilities, a mental link to me, compassion. She's an innocent. Father, I told myself I would not do this thing, that it was wrong, but I knew I would. It was a measure of his distress that he called the priest father. And knowing you would do something you believe is wrong, you still did it. You must have had a good reason. Selfishness. Did you not hear me? I. Everything for myself. I found a reason to continue my existence, and I took what did not belong to me. And still, even now, talking to you, I know I will not give her up. Accept your nature, Mikhail. Accept yourself as you are. Mikhail's laughter was bitter. Everything is so clear to you. You say, I'm one of God's children. I have purpose. I should accept my nature. My nature is to take what I believe is mine, hold it, protect it, chain it to my side if necessary. I cannot let her go. I cannot. She is like the wind, open and free. If I caged the wind, would it die? Then don't cage it, Mikhail. Trust it to stay beside you. How can I protect the wind, Edgar? You say cannot, Mikhail. You cannot let her go. Not would not, will not. You said cannot. There's a difference. For me, what of her? What choice am I giving her? I've always believed in you, in your goodness and your strength. It is very possible that the young lady needs you as well. You have heard the legends and the lies associated with your kind for so long. You are beginning to believe the nonsense. To a true vegetarian, a meat eater can be repulsive. The tiger needs deer to survive. A plant needs water. We all need something. You take only what you need. Kneel. Receive God's blessing and go back to your woman. You will find a way to protect your wind. Mikhail knelt obediently, his head bent, allowing the peace of the old man and his words to comfort him. Outside, the fury of the storm abated abruptly, as if it had spent its anger and now could rest in the aftermath. Thank you, Father, Mikhail whispered. Do what you must to protect your race, Mikhail. In the eyes of God, they are his children. And that's a wrap on chapter 4 of Dark Prince. Join us for chapter 5 in the next episode.